Whew. Nearly gave myself a heart attack half a minute ago. Okay. It's all good. If you've been, for some reason, paying attention to the visual side of these streams, there's another gate just like this in the front. And I thought it was open when I let Heine just run around here. And I couldn't find him, looking around, couldn't find him for 5 seconds. And then I was, oh, god damn it, the pool people were here today, maybe the gate is open. And I turned around to look at it, and it kind of looked like it might have been, from a distance. I couldn't quite tell. But no, I was close. And, oh, me boy was just here. Oh, me boy was here all along. Okay. So, in continuation of my previous bitchings, to sum up, what last time took me an hour to say, essentially, I think it's rather silly at this point for me to keep just kind of bitching about random video games that I play periodically on my Patreon, because it's not a regular, kind of category of stuff that I put out, because I don't really play that many video games, or when I do, it's often I just replay something old that I know I like. It's not all Resident Evil 4 for me non-stop 24/7, but I do stuff like that periodically, and obviously there is nothing to report there particularly. But as of late, well, not even as of late, in the last year, so to speak, I should say, I not only, reached back into the past to cover certain games that weren't even just kind of B-ish games, mediocre or whatnot. No, some games, 7th as well, time to cover, back in the day. 2008-ish, maybe even 7. So I was basically a full-time musician until I was about 20, when I became a rather part-time musician for a year and a half, and then I became full-time studio owner, whatever, / audio engineer, whatnot. Production person. And whatever. Recently I have been really exploring the hellscape of modern games that may still work on my old laptop. Which, well, I suppose now I can say that it's old. I've been, since forever ago, making kind of the joke that, well, it's technically not mine. Yeah, but the funny thing is that, it's been mine. It was a gift. It was just, never, how men do things, It was never categorized by anyone as a gift. It was just something a friend of mine did not need, and he gave me the thing. With him, it probably would have just been thrown away at this point. So fun story. That dude is no longer my friend for some reason. Well, there are multiple reasons, I suppose, for it, but it was rather strange. So in the last not in the last couple of years, I should say, in the last couple of months, more I've been doing a conscious effort of trying to see what modern games, I'm talking pretty goddamn modern, I can actually see if I can run on my on my hardware just so that I, have more. I mean, I've played like basically all video games of all time. You show me when you show me like the gameplay of Red Dead Redemption 3 or Death Stranding 2, I don't need a review. I already know everything about this game. I know how it controls, I know how it plays, I know how the gunplay feels. I don't really necessarily need any of that. But it is still best, right, when you have like a hands-on, first person experience, right, hands-on experience of a game before you dismiss it for a modern slop. Because, well, you don't have to bullshit anyone if you're ever in the argument. You don't have to lie to them, for example, by telling them that you've played the game, because I don't lie. But with some people, they just wouldn't, they're not like you and I. They don't understand that after you have played couple hundreds like thousands potentially of games, you show me something like a gameplay of Death Stranding 2, I already know how it plays. I already know pretty much everything about the game, especially since I played the first one. So that's a pretty good example. Like Death Stranding 1, I now have to say Death Stranding 1. Death Stranding was one of those games I personally had absolutely zero interest in. I did not particularly hate it for, ending up not being Silent Hill. I did not particularly hate it for the pubes face dude being in it, although it's cringe as fuck. But I understand why it happened so, right? A lot of Japanese, big Japanese developers are Westaboos. Obviously, Hideo Kojima is one of the biggest ones, and now he has the pool and he has the money to do whatever he wants. Of course, he's gonna cast, whoever is the most iconic kind of like Western entertainer. Whoever are the biggest iconic Western entertainers right now. So it's like, whatever. But it's just that the premise, it's Hideo Kojima. I was never particularly offended by it because it's Hideo Kojima. Of course, it's going to be pretentious and stupid and very cheap and shallow and exploitative. It's like Quiet in MGS5. Why is she naked? Oh, Hideo Kojima has very good reasons why she's naked, but we all know why she's actually naked, right? Like, the official reasons for why she's naked is just Kojima coping. So I understand that, I expect that, but hey, after actually playing the game, okay, and finishing it, in fact 100%ing it, I cannot say I had fun all the 100% through, by the way, of Death Stranding, but as a podcast game, it's very good. It's actually not only good, you don't typically even think of something like that for a podcast game, but it's a unique podcast game. So yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. Kind of like a Kojima take on slop, modern AAA open world slop, and that's what it is. It's a Kojima take on the Ubislop formula. And you might say, actually, MGS5 was that, wasn't it? Yeah, but MGS5 was more of a take on something like Far Cry, next generation of Ubislop, which is actually not even Ubislop, it's Breath of the Wild-like, right? And one of the games I can talk about is actually exactly that. Basically, that's what Ubislop games are these days. We don't necessarily have the stupid thing where we need to be warring off the territory of the map, doing the stupid tower climbing, doing the bandit camps or whatnot, although we have those as well. But now the idea is that you actually make an open world 10 times as big as you used to, but instead of having kind of like all those side missions and side activities, you put a million micro activities in it. So Breath of the Wild style, right? And that's what Pogwarts Legacy is about, for example. And I believe all the other games are kind of like that as well. So like Ghost of Tsushima, as you Americans call it, I think is like that. I think pretty much all of the Witcher clones by Ubisoft are this way. So like all of the Assassin's Creed are also this way. But yeah, so that's kind of like the next generation. And Death Stranding is that, right? Death Stranding isn't really a traditional Ubislop. It's the new age Ubislop, right? It's a post Breath of the Wild Ubislop. And hey, it's a pretty unique take, you know. You ask, it's kind of like, you know, I think the YouTuber Looking Glassed, which I actually recommend on my Patreon, I think the dude has the dude is all about immersive sims. He has a very good taste in video games, and he's pretty good at analyzing them, I believe. And I think in his Redfall video, he gave this hypothetical example of like Arcane, the classic Arcane, the traditional Arcane. They would always find a way of make whatever premise you give them, they would find a way to make it into an immersive sim. I think he was just justifying the fact that Redfall, all things considered, still had kind of like immersive sim elements in it, a little bit of immersive sim DNA, despite the fact that the game is basically co-op looter shooter. And they managed to incorporate a little bit of immersive sim elements even into that. And his hypothetical example was that if somebody was, if someone told them to make like a Sudoku game, they would find a way to make it immersive sim-like even out of that formula. And Kojima is kind of like the same way, right? Like you give him the not particularly inspiring cause of making a Ubislop, and he's gonna deliver you a Ubislop with some spice, right? It's at its core, it's Ubislop, but there's like so many little details that make it interesting. Not necessarily saying good, but interesting. And as an old fag, I'm not gonna get banned for that word. That's not what I said, okay? I did not say that as homosexual, as a... Okay. Yeah. Goodbye streaming on YouTube. Anyway, after seeing everything, I appreciate something interesting way more than just something polished. Because guess what's polished? Cyberpunk 2077 is now allegedly polished. Do I want to play it now? Does that fix all the problems of the game now? You know? Was the game bad before because it was buggy? Was that the reason why the game was boring and it sucked? Like, no, it isn't, right? So I'm not necessarily looking, you know, for something that's technically good. You know, that ticks all the boxes. That's, oh, it's a very good Ubisoft game, dude. It's like, yeah, but is it interesting? No, it isn't? Well, then, not sure if I want to play it. Because good things can be boring, believe it or not. When you make everything into a formula, you make everything into a marketing spreadsheet, yeah, you can make a good game that is legitimately boring. Like, again, pretty good example, GTA 5. Is GTA 5 a bad game? Well, if you were to argue that GTA 5 is a bad game, you're gonna have to go into some very deep philosophical depths. But it's very easy to make an argument why GTA 5 might be boring for some people, like myself, for example. Maybe you too. But if you believe so, neither you nor I could, if it's even a thing, objectively make, you know, the claim that GTA 5 is a bad game. Because objectively, it's probably not. a bad game, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how I function these days. I would take something that is interesting over something that's supposedly polished. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is probably relatively polished. I don't think it's that buggy or anything. Do I find it a game worth my time? No. So yeah, that's kind of like, that's what Hideo Kojima did. And like, honestly, yeah, if I have not played the game myself, I would have forever just been saying, yeah, Death Stranding, whatever, just like not super interested, whatever. But after playing it myself, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's not like particularly good in many segments of itself, but all in all, I found many elements of it compelling, and you're never gonna believe it, imaginative. And lack of imagination, lack of creativity is by far the biggest problem in entertainment, in arts right now, because no one's experimenting anymore, and a lot of what even I myself would in the end call creativity of something like Death Stranding is actually rather generic. But you know, there was a vision behind it, there was an idea behind it that Kojima was pursuing, and you can tell. Now play something like Darksiders 2, for example, and you can clearly tell that nobody really had any idea other than, okay, let's just kind of make like a Zelda type of like open world stuff. So it's open world, so you know, people can run around it and feel like there's stuff to do because they can run around it a lot. Like, you can clearly tell that nobody was particularly inspired. You know, they had the idea of what kind of product they're gonna end up with, but nobody was truly inspired by a divine spark of creation, so to speak. If you ever attempted to maybe like write a story, write a book, or anything like that, maybe even write a song or make a video game, you know, design a video game. You don't have necessarily to make a video game to claim yourself to be a game designer. Most game designers don't necessarily make video games, you know, they just consult, you know, the actual people who make them. And yeah, you know what it's like to have a truly original idea and be like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if like I could like craft a world where like such and yada yada. Wow, it would have been so cool. Like, nobody was thinking that, right? When they were making something like Darksiders 2. They were just thinking, yeah, so like need to design an open world, and like some activity needs to go here and some collectible over there, and there's like a battle arena over here, I think. Yeah, like that's how it was designed. By the way, a lot of people love Darksiders 2 for some reason, and the reason I think of it now is because right now I'm playing 3, and 3 is much better than everyone was saying when it came out. I have no idea why people hated it so much. The only problem is that it's not really a Souls-like. It's more of a kind of like a slasher type of, you know, pseudo kind of like non-character action game that Darksiders 1 was, for example. It's just that your character is incredibly pathetically weak. And it's just strange that they made the game this way. I don't think it was supposed to be this way. I think they probably transitioned like all of the gameplay and the assets that they had, they transitioned it to oh my god, they transitioned. They just went, you know, Souls-like, like halfway into development. Because everything else about the game, like the quote-unquote combo system, the like the animations, the amounts of enemies running at you, none of that is Souls-ish. But you know what Souls-ish? Camera. Like, I don't know. By the way, the game is unplayable if you don't mod the UUU mod into it, so that you have access to console and you can increase the FOV. With the standard FOV, the game is borderline unplayable. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, I've been trying, right, to kind of like play modern-ish games recently, those that will at least launch on my computer, like, you know, minimum settings, whatever, let's go. You know, maybe if something that's worth playing is free on Epic, I'm gonna grab that and I'll play it on Nintendo, NVIDIA GeForce Now. That's how that was the first quote-unquote modern game that I've played in ages. What, about 2 years ago or something? Well, definitely over a year ago. Yeah, I grabbed it for free on Epic and ended up playing it for free 1 hour at a time on GeForce Now. All things considered, I probably could have played it locally. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so strangely, there are some games that do run on my hardware, and I've been consciously trying to check them out, and not just check them out, you know, for like 5 hours. No, but actually, you know, if I see that the game is good, well, first of all, if I see that it's not good, I can tell right away. I don't have, like, without actually playing it. But something interesting, you know, I try to actually finish it. And yeah, well, currently working my way through Darksiders 3, and also, strangely enough, I did check out the Stellar Blade demo, and oof, they put a lot of graphical options into the PC release of that game, which I think it came out either yesterday or today. And yeah, guys, it's actually like perfectly runnable on my machine. And FOV is trash. FOV is really bad, and you need the paid version of the UUU mode in order to change it. But hopefully, you know, now that the game actually came out, people will mod it. There will be an FOV mod. You wouldn't have to do the UUU thing, because yeah, you have to buy it on Patreon of the creator now in order to get the last version that does have Stellar Blade in it. Stellar Blade support. Other than that, I did have to, because it's Unreal Engine 4, it just runs. Even on my machine, it just runs, and there's a lot of graphical options that allow me, allow my computer to actually, you know, to get some performance out of that game, or rather the game gets performance out of my machine, whatever. And it's, yeah, I only had to tweak the engine.ini file of Unreal Engine 4 just a little bit to turn off as horizontal, like at the sides of the screen, vignetting. Or actually, maybe that's vertical vignetting, I suppose, would be, right? Like, anyway, so the left and the right side of the screen are vignetted. Instead of up and down, it's left and right. Or right and left, I suppose. Whatever. It looks so bad. I am... Poor console gamers. I have no idea how you fucking play modern video games. Modern video games just unplayable because of that shit to me on console. Cannot adjust FOV in something like 99% of those. In some games you can, but in most you cannot. Cannot turn off shit like chromatic aberration, noise filters. Cannot turn off those... ini. Cannot turn off the, like, motion blur, you know, depth of field. None of that you can turn off. It is just so bad. I cannot imagine playing that game with that vignetting. Like, honestly, it would just be unplayable for me. And despite the fact that I quite enjoyed the demo, obviously it's blatant plagiarism. But you know what? Again, yes, it's blatant plagiarism, but this is where the industry is going now. All the big publishers, all the big studios are going bankrupt. So new people, new people with money, like next AAA is basically just like random rich people, making video games after being inspired, after just playing one. It's like Elon Musk played Elden Ring, and it was like the first game he played in 26 years. And imagine if he founded his own studio just so that he can make his own Elden Ring. Well, Stellar Blade is the same way, right? Some dude played Nier Automata during quarantine, in 2020 or 2021, got super inspired, and decided, I'm gonna make my own. Me too, I want to be just as cool as the people who made this. Flattery is the best form of imitation, haha. And now that's what we have. But guess what? Plagiarism, yeah. Still not quite the thing that we want, yeah. But would you rather have Ubislop? Or would you rather have some DEI nightmare? No, somebody with actual taste, maybe not a lot of experience, maybe not a lot of original ideas, but somebody with a taste and somebody with passion and a vision made a game, and you can feel it. You can feel it, and it feels good. It feels good to play something, made by somebody who actually believed in what they were making, not just either like doing things according to a spreadsheet or doing things according to some kind of ideology that they just adopted from someone else. No, the dude believed in himself. The dude had a vision, right? And he made things according to that. And I think they all fell in place rather beautifully because of it. You can sense the purity, so to speak, of the intent. And I am looking forward to checking out the game when I get around to it. Because it's 2025 game that runs on my machine rather nicely. It's quite unexpected, but it does. It's not quite 60. In a lot of places it is 60, but... in some places it's 60, in a lot of other places it's not quite 60 FPS, but it's still playable. It's still playable. I finished Returnal with FPS rarely going over 30. Those Unreal Engine games are surprisingly responsive, even on low frame rates, for some reason. Unreal Engine 4 performs really well when FPS is low. A lot of other engines don't. A lot of other engines, you start getting like half a fucking minute input delay. Nope. It's still responsive. It's the FPS is shit, but the game is still responsive. It's magical almost. It just works somehow, quote unquote. So, yeah, whatever. I decided not to make for a while, I'm not going to write any more articles on my Patreon about me playing video games, so to speak. Because no one follows me for that. No one is following me for that, and no one is... I cannot do it regularly. And the thing is that, because I don't play that many video games, and I should not do it regularly. And you know why. Because I have music to make, I have a book to finish editing, and half a dozen more to do after that one, So it's honestly just absolutely not worth it. Because no one really is looking for it, who knows me or even follows me, and it should not be my priority. But I can bitch about some things while I'm walking with my doggo. It's just that I keep saying the same things all the time. Honestly, talking to myself is nice and all, but there are only so many things I can talk about multiple days in a row, right? Like last time I did this thing, I was absolutely pooped right off the bat. I haven't done this for about a week, I believe, and hey, it's been 30 minutes, and only now I'm starting to get fatigued and kind of bored with the sound of my own voice again. But yeah, there are things to do, things to make. And why am I checking out new games even at all? Because, well, first of all, I want to be semi-informed at least on exactly what is happening, you know, with the slop situation. Because the slop, I can tell that it's slop, right? But like a game like Stellar Blade or a game like Darksiders 3 when it came out, I couldn't play because for some reason it wouldn't launch on. I was using Windows 7 at that point. Which is strange why so many games just wouldn't launch, because modern video games, when they say they need DX12, they don't actually use DX12, they still use DX11, because if it's an Unreal Engine game, it has a fallback for DX11. But 12, when a modern game tells you it needs DX12, it actually isn't 12, it's just 11, probably, if you don't have a super modern computer. Because Microsoft, in their genius, did not call the latest version of DirectX something like 12.1 or 12.5, or maybe even, I know, shocking idea, 13, DirectX 13. They didn't do that. First of all, why people use DirectX at all, I don't understand. But also, it's just called something, so the latest version is just called something like 12 Ultimate or 12 Maximum or something like that. But when the application tells you, hey, you don't have DX12, like F you, I'm not going to work, or I'm going to launch now, I'm going to attempt launching in DX11 mode, it's not because, like, of course, you would think, what the hell kind of BS is this? My computer supports DX12. My hardware supports DX12. There are other DX12 games I'm playing right now. Like, what are you talking about? It's actually talking about the fact that your machine does not support essentially 12.5 or 13 even, it should have been called. But the official nomenclature is still just calling it 12. It's not 12. It's like the latest version of 12. Complete BS that they still just call it 12. It's not 12. So, essentially, like all these modern games that pretty much even modern UE4 games, they still look for that newish modern of DX12 support. And if it's Unreal Engine 5, you're fucked. But if it's Unreal Engine 4, there is almost always an automatic fallback to DX11. And that should just run on Windows 7, like in the first place, right? I have no idea why, though, like, nope. Nothing would. Everything is bitching about needing DX12, therefore Windows 10, but actually it's just going to end up using, for me, for example, in a situation like mine, it's going to end up using DX11 anyway. So might as well just work on Windows 7, you fucker. Yeah, so that was my situation with Darksiders. And Doom Eternal, by the way, also did not work on my machine on Windows 7, despite being Volcom. I don't understand why. Yeah, Eternal would only work on 10, and Darksiders 3 would not work on 10. Sorry. On 7. Eternal would not work on 7, despite being Volcom, so, like, who the fuck cares? And Darksiders did not work on 7 either. Well, now I'm using 10 primarily on that laptop. It's not that I use the laptop a lot, but the laptop now has 10 on it. And yeah, I'm finally playing Darksiders. So, let me see. What can I bitch about? So yeah, I'm not going to be doing any more, like, video game bitchings on the channel. Right? Oh, fuck. You know what? I need to probably do it like this. But I can do it doing these super helpful, super insightful streams. And so let's talk about Pogwarts, right? Pogwarts is the last generation of Ubisoft type open world game, meaning it's not as much inspired by Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, although partially it is. There are still elements of those things, but it's a hybrid of those things and Breath of the Wild. Well, I actually, in the end, I do not recommend it, because the game is not as much bad. It is just incredibly bland. It is so boring. The writing is so boring. One good thing about the writing I can say, this is my second phone, I have notes on it. One good thing I will tell you about Pogwarts is that they put Pogwarts Legacy in 1800s, and now at least the universe kind of makes sense, right? Because aesthetically and technologically, the wizarding world of wizarding world of wizarding is aesthetically and technologically stuck in like 1600s, 1700s, right? Maybe 1800s tops. Well, guess what? If the whole game actually takes place in 1800s, it actually kind of makes sense. Aesthetically, the wizarding world of Harry Potter-y and wizarding actually is not stupid in this game. So that's a plus, I suppose. Everything else about the writing is just terrible. Every single quest except for the Sebastian quest, and I can't say that the character writing, dialogue writing during the Sebastian quest is particularly better than everything else. It's pretty much just as horrible, but the subject matter is somewhat engaging, somewhat interesting. And at any rate, everything else writing-wise, like the way people talk, the way situations are written, is so cringy. It's basically Mass Effect Andromeda all over again. Everyone is talking like they are in a group therapy session, and everyone is extremely positive. Everyone is talking through like gritted teeth, like forcing themselves to smile. Everyone is talking like constantly smiling. It's like you're in a cult or something. It's legitimately creepy. Everyone is for some reason constantly trying to talk while smiling. Everyone is constantly agreeing with each other. There is no conflict at all. When it is, it's like comedic and quirky, like the whatever ever black, the headmaster, like he's an asshole. Oh, but he's not like an asshole, he's not even like a comedic, like Professor Snape level of asshole. He's just, he's like a doofus, he's an angry doofus. It's like, whatever. Everything is quirky, everything is funny, everything is kind of like, I cannot even say like Disney, but I suppose if you want to, you could say that. I call it therapy core writing. And because of those constraints, nobody particularly sounds like a real human being. People constantly agree with each other. People constantly congratulate each other on everything, compliment each other endlessly, including your main character, who literally does just everything great automatically, and everyone is just like, wow, dude, you're just like fucking greatest. Like, aren't you the greatest? It is so cringe. Like the fucking Gary Stu or Mary Sue syndrome of your protagonist is just cringe. So that's probably like the best I can describe the situation with Legacy. The game is extremely cringely written, very amateurishly written, and very obviously written to be like very non-offensive, very non-triggering, very snowflakey, very kind of like congratulatory, self-congratulatory for absolutely no reason. It's creepy, almost, I should say. It's almost not as much like annoying and intellectually offensive as it goes so overboard. It's not subtle at all, because like its subtlety in things like that, you can get annoyed. You can be like, why are you trying to propagandize to me? Why are you trying to brainwash me? Video game, fuck off. Right? But no, in Pogwarts, just like in something like Mass Effect Andromeda, it is so overt. I just couldn't be angry at it. I was just creeped out. I'm like, what am I playing? It's like, it felt like I am sitting in, cults would have like open days, right? When they would like invite people into like an auditorium and they would try to convert them, right? And I felt like I was sitting in that auditorium and somebody on stage was preaching some metaphysics, some esoterics to me, loosely based on like some kind of, like Hinduism, but all spun into, you guys need to sell everything you have and give it to us and we will put you in the commune. I just felt, that's how I felt. I felt like I was sitting at like a press conference, of a cult, where everyone speaks this weird, language of bullshit that has nothing to do with reality, nothing to do with facts, nothing to do with how real people actually interact, but because they're all in a cult, they all play this like game, right? The cult game that they all play. And it was just creepy. But guess what? You can, if you skip half of it, it's half as damaging. So that's what I did, and that's what I recommend you do. Now, already, why would you even keep playing? Well, you keep playing because of this. I actually don't know if the actual Ubisoft slop games these days do Breath of the Wild cloning, but well, these guys definitely did that. And I know neither of you would answer me really also, because you guys don't even play the games you say are great. You drop pretty much all of them after about 6 to 10 hours. Even those who will be defending Pogwarts for some legacy, you probably got to the point where you get the broom and we're kind of like, oh wow, so open, I don't think I can take it, and then you basically stop playing. Like, it's just all grifting and shilling, even among consumers. So basically what I'm saying is that no one knows whether modern Ubisoft games are still kind of like Ubisloppy or if they are more Breath of the Wildy. Because no one plays them. Normies don't play them. They play them for about 5 to 10 hours. And, OGs like myself obviously don't play them at all. Like Shadow of Shishimi, Ghost Recon Wildlife, or whatever, no one really plays those games. I'm sorry. It's just the fact. I'm not inventing reality, I'm not rejecting your reality and whatever, coming up with my own. Achievement data clearly tells us that you people don't play these open slop games you claim are so great and revolutionary every time. And so immersive. I've been immersed in this open world for a whole of 40 minutes before I stopped playing it forever. Yeah, good job. So what else are we dealing with here? Essentially, it's Breath of the Wild, but with map markers. It's incredibly uninspiring and boring. I'm just reading my notes. The open world itself, atmosphere-wise, attempts to be Fable. Interesting point, by the way. I probably completely forgot it. Yeah, the game desperately tries to be Fable. Which you might say, well, wouldn't it just attempt to be like old-school Harry Potter games instead? No, old-school Harry Potter games had a pretty unique atmosphere, which actually you might be right if you said that. Fable had a little bit of that in it. But mostly no. Mostly it's Jeremy Soules, incredible music, and really nice art direction. But this game really tries to be something like Fable 2 or 3, for example. But with the open world that is just Breath of the Wild, but with map markers. And I think it fails tremendously for multiple reasons. Hogwarts itself is basically just a museum. It's not a real school. The way they completely remixed how everything is interconnected, they basically kind of like remixed the movie version of Hogwarts, really, the video game version from like the first two, I suppose, that were more based on the books than the movies. They have not done that. They basically took the movie version of Hogwarts and they completely remixed the fuck out of it, to the point of completely changing how certain things look, by the way, which doesn't make much sense, but it's all right. Atmosphere in general is somewhat in between a failed attempt at being Fable and the movie Hogwarts, which kinda doesn't land anywhere, and just ends up basically invoking absolutely zero emotions. Yeah, that's how the whole game feels like. Hogwarts is pretty impressive in the amount of detail you find in the world, but there's absolutely nothing to do but to like collect pages, you know, and once you collect pages and later in the game you can actually fully explore the game finally, like 30 hours into it, or not 30, something, rather like 20, you can actually explore the map by getting the Alohomora, 3 levels of it. Yeah, fantastic. Like in the beginning of the game, you can't even explore the map properly, but when you do, it's just pretty looking hallways that are interconnected in ways that make absolutely no sense. In Order of Phoenix, the game, and also like Azkaban on GameCube and PS2 also had pretty complex Hogwarts map. Like those both made sense and were kind of like faithful to both the books and the movies. Well, 3 at least. Like 5 obviously was just full movie. But yeah, like whatever. It's impressive for about 10 minutes, I promise you. There's absolutely nothing to do. And the game doesn't even put effort into making the game about traversing and exploring. One of the first things that happens, actually, literally the first thing that happens when you get out of your common room, the game tells you how to fast travel. Like, the game doesn't even want you to explore Hogwarts because there's nothing in it. It's visually impressive, yeah, but design-wise, no. And it doesn't look like Hogwarts either from the books nor from the movies. I suppose they wanted just to make something to wow everyone, so that it was something new-ish kind of experience, even for people who know everything about Hogwarts. But I think they just ended up making something that appeals to no one, neither old fans nor new. Neither new ones, because it doesn't make sense in the first place. So new people are just going to be like, well, okay, all right, whatever. I don't get it. It's confusing. Let's go. Basically just a giant museum. Kind of doesn't land anywhere. Invokes basically zero emotions except for boredom, if you count that as an emotion. About 60% of the game, there's actually, by the way, no music at all. But actually, earlier Harry Potter games were kind of the same way, but, you know, when there was music, it was Jeremy Soul's most fucking iconic music of all time. Some of most iconic music of all time, those, you know, original Harry Potter tunes. Video game tunes, I mean. It's just that it's very weird for such an empty game not to attempt to rely heavily on a soundtrack, by the, you know, which it's not trying to at all. Which, like the game in general, when the soundtrack is present, it's rather bland and soulless. It's kind of like combination of a failed attempt to imitate Jeremy Soule slightly, but it ends up being soulless. You know, no pun intended. It's no Jeremy Soule, it's soulless, you know. It's a blend of that and kind of like the cinematic Hollywood slop orchestral, you know, BS, which is just very generic and uninspired. Honestly, something like a very solid Fable style of like I can still remember music from Fable 3, you know, because Fable 3 was also all about constantly fast traveling, looking at the map, fast traveling, you know, doing busy work, fast travel, looking at the map. But I can remember like the map theme of Fable 3. You know, if this game relied heavier on memorable music, I think it could legitimately make it better. As it stands, I give it like 5 out of 10, not even 6 out of 10. Harry Potter is a unique game that is actually really good pretty much at everything it does. Okay, sorry, it's it's bad at a lot of things it does. It's objectively, you cannot say that it's bad at basically any of the elements of it, except for writing. But writing, like, modern audiences don't know the difference between good and bad writing, so it's understandable why no one brings that up. But like gameplay wise and the open slop wise, like, yeah, it's definitely not bad. It's just neither good. The game just sits strongly in the middle, where either you're playing it or not playing it. It makes you feel nothing. If it relied heavier on good and memorable music, I think would have been actually, it would have helped the game tremendously. It could have made it potentially even 6 out of 10. But no. The soundtrack does exist, and there are some nice tunes. There are, but mostly bland. The worst by far piece of music in the game is the Room of Requirement theme. Room of Requirement time theme. It's terrible and completely unfitting. I have no idea what the developers were thinking. They basically just picked a random track they had that the composer submitted. And were like, this one isn't used anywhere, let's use this one. No, they should have asked for a different one, like, honestly. It's just very, very obviously they just picked whatever they had instead of actually, like, commissioned a track specifically for that area. Doesn't fit at all. The Hogsmeade theme, by the way, is also cancer. It's just like pretend Fable type, not even pretend Fable, it's just like pretend quirky, pretend, you know, weird, and yeah, no, fuck that shit. Yeah, so when are you gonna talk about combat? All right, I will. Give me a break. It's not as bad as it looks, true. Like a lot of people, I heard it from a lot of people. Guys, you're not gonna believe it, the combat isn't actually as bad as it looks. True, it's not. It's not remotely good, though. If you played more than 10 games of your life, you would not be wasting any of your breath defending, you know, defending the space where there is nothing to defend, which is the combat of Pogwarts Legacy. There's nothing to defend there. It's not great. It's just not as terrible as it looks. True. It's not 1 out of 10. It's like 3. All right, fantastic. And why does it still suck, by the way? Oof, guys. Again, you have to play it yourself to understand why it sucks. Harry Potter game should not have the main focus of combat being on switching between shortcut, like hotkeys bars. You have 4. Each bar holds 4 spells, and you have to constantly switch between them. Sometimes, even mid-combat, you have to pause the game to reassign skills between those bars, and then go back to the video game and relearning where everything is.
while you also need to be thinking about dodging. Well, and that's it. You need to be thinking about dodging while, or blocking, either blocking or dodging, while also juggling the 4 hotbars and like remembering where everything is. And there's a delay, by the way. There's an input lag. There's pretty big, shittily working buffering. Let's go for another walk, Booba. I'll play with you in literally 10 minutes, if not less. So yeah, there's combat technically, and it actually isn't as bad as it looks. Because it, like visually, it looks almost like something as bad as like Dragon Age 2. No, it's not. It's not that level of trash. No. But it still has giant problems stemming from, like, very obviously people not understanding what they were making, working on it. A combat in a Harry Potter game, or Harry Potter, it's technically not a Harry Potter game, it's a Hogwarts game, whatever, Wizarding World of Wizarding game. It should have been puzzle-oriented combat, like all of the previous games in the series, in a Harry Potter, previous Harry Potter games. Puzzle type combat, you know, every enemy is killed with like a unique approach based on your tool set. You know, not just spam damage abilities. Spam damage abilities, spam stunning abilities, you know, switch the bar again. Spam something else. Spam Crucio, spam Imperio, spam Avada Kedavra. Boom, 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 boom. Quickly. Again, back to the first one. Hotbar. Okay, spam all the damage. Okay, oh, fuck. No, I need to know either to the second or the third one, because I need to stun those fucking assholes. Oh, I need to pull that guy off the tower. So, where do I have the fucking pull spell? Which bar is it? The third one? And it's just such a nightmare. I have no idea what they were thinking with that system. But anyway, is there something I forgot? Incredibly uninspired game. Incredibly. What is actually interesting about it is just pushing through and see if you can finish it. Like, legit. Because after you have played it for about 10 hours, it basically becomes an endurance test. You just start wondering, okay, because I was also playing on the hardest difficulty, which is hard, and I was wondering, well, the game is technically not without a certain degree of challenge, because if you stop paying attention, you actually get killed rather fast. So I was wondering, can I finish the slop if I don't invest any time at all into like grinding levels and equipment and whatnot? And also, it was fun in a podcast game fashion. I was rewatching for the 13th time Trailer Park Boys on my second monitor while playing it. It was fun to grind a little bit of Merlin challenges to increase your inventory size, and it was fun to grind just a little bit of the ancient magic BS so that you have more ancient magic charges. Like, yeah, I've spent maybe about an hour doing side content, and it was rather unoffensive, but also, oh my god, the world is so bad. Like, the grounds around Hogwarts is probably the worst map, open world map I've seen in any open world game. And I'm not talking open world. I mean, technically Deus Ex Human Revolution is open world. No, I mean, like, sandbox, open world sandbox. It's probably the worst. It's one of the worst ones, honestly. I don't know. Maybe something by Ubisoft that I've never played and no one really played. Something like like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or maybe Odyssey. You know, maybe one of those games are worse in terms of like open world sloppiness. But from everything I've ever played, Harry Potter is exactly it. And it's exactly what I expected it was going to be also. It's almost just indigestible. Undigestible. I cannot believe this is what counts. This is what passes for an open world sandbox games. For an open world sandbox game these days. We came such a long way down since the times of like Assassin's Creed 2 or maybe even like Prince of Persia 2008. Technically an open world game. More of a Metroidvania style open world game, but still not technically a sandbox. Okay, well, you want a sandbox game that is kind of crappy, but not even remotely as bad? Mirror's Edge Catalyst. You know, is it bad? Yes. Is it uninspired? Kinda, but not 100%, not completely. And 10 years later, not even 10 years later, I think, yeah, when was Catalyst? 10-ish? I think less than 10. And now we have like the grounds around Hogwarts. Wow. Wow. Also, I cannot believe, because obviously it was much easier to make, you know, Annie, come on. It was much easier to make, okay, actually, I now have my second hand free, so I'll just set you free. So, no. It was much easier to make those stupid Hogwarts grounds, obviously, than actually make like an interesting Hogwarts. But have those devs not played like Order of Phoenix? That game did not have fast travel. It had a crap ton of shortcuts instead. Have they not played like Azkaban? That game took place pretty much entirely within Hogwarts. So Hogwarts was not enough to make an open world game. Like a Metroidvania type, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, Hogwarts was not enough. They had to make a game about giant, empty, flat open world. Just wow. And the quality of it is everything I thought about open Ubisoft games. Because I haven't played them in a while, right? I think the most modern one would have been either Shadow of War or Mad Max. You know, but Shadow of War is more about relatively small, relatively like actually giant flat area, right? We came down such a long way if this is what passes for an open world, and paired with the fact that they chose to do that instead of making Hogwarts itself into a giant map. I mean, it's not small, but that's what the game should have been about. Oof. Anyway, Pogwarts Legacy is surprisingly not a bad game, but what is truly unique about it is how it literally makes you feel nothing. Sebastian did nothing wrong, by the way, and by far the best part of the game is his side quest. I was even somewhat intrigued and interested to see it through. About 50% into the quest, I actually started to pay attention. It actually gripped me a little bit. And the main story also gripped me somewhere between like maybe 70% of the main story to somewhere around 90 to 95% of the main story. There's like the third quarter of the main story, there's somewhere in there, something like that. Somewhere in there, there's a patch where the game is actually, the story out of a sudden is a little bit interesting. But towards the end, it falls apart again, and I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to care about it again. And it's not even that the sum of its parts, it like makes the overall experience, like it either drags it down or certain things elevate it, and it ends up being like a 5 out of 10. No, it's through most of the game, just consistent feeling of nothing. You're neither having fun nor you particularly hate what you're going through. Maybe you do feel hate only because of how bored you are, but if you, to begin with, approach the game as a podcast game, you have something on the second monitor, it's not as bad. But yeah, without it, you will hate it because of how boring it is. But as a podcast game, because that's what it is, you can immediately tell that it's going to be a podcast game once you see the map. It's just nothing. So yeah, Pogwarts Legacy was definitely it was a learning experience for me. I cannot quite remember too many games with such evokement of feelings, rather, or like this, such a nothingness, rather, of that. But it's absolutely not a bad game, and I think, like, definitely going into the future, I don't have too many negative feelings about it. Is it boring? Yes. But is it a bad game? Also, no. I will not be able to tell anyone that, like, Pogwarts Legacy sucks. No, it actually isn't. But it's also not particularly compelling experience. Actually, it's not compelling at all. Why am I doing this to myself? Well, because, again, you know, I do want to know what's actually good out there. That's why I give games like Mad Max 2015 a shot these days. That's why I gave something like, and will give also again in the future, once I, you know, get around to play the final game, the full game, Stellar Blade a chance, because although I'm not currently developing anything, and I don't know when I may be developing something even remotely serious, because it takes a lot of time to make a video game, and it's a long-term commitment with no payoff for like 2 years in a row. Right now I just cannot afford, you know, to basically do nothing, you know, but that for such amount of time. Unless, of course, the whole process is either funded or at least there is a publisher who will in the end distribute the game. So that, you know, you will have something, you know, for making it. If you don't have a publisher lined up, or you don't have, you know, money in order to push your game once it comes out, or even during the development, which is also funny. You should be developing the game and doing marketing at the same time. Like, I don't have the money for it, and it's also very soul-crushing to just do everything by yourself. I'd rather finish the game first and then market it, but even then, you know, it needs money. Or a publisher. Otherwise, it's just a 2-year commitment for absolutely nothing, because no one will see your game. So, although I'm not currently developing anything, and I probably will not be developing much in the nearest future, I still want to kind of, like, you know the landscape, because once a game dev, always a game dev, and I'm always open to whatever, you know, door might unexpectedly open or something like that. So I should probably know what's good, and I should support, I want to support whatever is happening in the industry right now that's actually worth supporting, and that's why I'm doing my little, you know, AAA slop coverage project, so to speak, recently. And yeah, Stellar Blade is a AAA game. I'm doing it with smaller games. I think, though, to be fair, there are some AAA games that, even in 2025, there are some AAA games that should not be like completely dismissed by me. You know, it would not be fair of me. It is more than fair to do it to something like 95% of them, but there's a small percentage that still, you know, would be unfair of me to just, whatever, it's a AAA slop, like, what am I going to waste my time on that? No, there are some games that actually I should probably have experience of and with. And yeah, that's why I'm doing these videos. And this one was, for over 20 minutes, it was basically about nothing, but the last 40 minutes or 50 minutes of this stream was about Pogwarts Legacy, a game that I was super surprised that actually ran on my computer, but it did, and I'm glad it did. Yeah, alrighty, I'm gonna go play with the doggo, and bye-bye.